Coach Prime just did it again. Adam Friedman here with Adam Gorney, National Recruiting Director for Rivals. Adam Gorney and National Recruiting Analyst and Rankings Director for Rivals. Coach Prime landed five-star offensive tackle Jordan Seaton. The Buffs seemed like they were trailing heading into decision day. Tennessee, Alabama, and Ohio State appeared to be leading the pack. But again, Coach Prime, I think it's the third year in a row now, lands a five-star basically at the wire. The ability for him to close on these elite recruits is just, it's almost uncommon. We've seen Nick Saban do it in the past. We saw Urban Meyer do it. Adam, what are your thoughts on Jordan's fit and just the way that this recruitment finished out?
Yeah, well, Colorado needs offensive linemen, desperate for them. And I think that was a big selling point. I think NIL was a massive selling point here. Look, this is definitely a surprise. Anyone who says it isn't is lying to you. Tennessee was definitely involved here late. Ohio State had him on campus a couple weeks ago. Alabama and Oregon were also very involved. But Colorado sort of lingered here. He had visited out there. After the visit, it seemed like the kind of interest had died down a little bit, but this is what Deion Sanders does late. He did it with Travis Hunter on signing day, the biggest of them all, flipping him from Florida State. Cormani McClain was unexpected last year when he didn't show up to his signing day press conference and ends up at Colorado. And now Jordan Seaton, the new five-star offensive lineman. It's a big addition because Colorado absolutely needs people up front. They basically gave up running the ball late last year because of just no offensive line depth. And really, to be completely honest, no offensive line talent. So this is someone who probably was sold on he can come in and immediately play. He has position versatility, both inside and outside, so he can be used somewhere. They need more pieces, but this is a huge one.
Definitely. I mean, in the recruiting momentum in Colorado has been really, trending downwards. They suffered a string of decommitments over the last month. And landing a five-star at this point in the cycle as we head into the early signing period and with the transfer portal open has to be good news for the Buffs as they look to add more offensive linemen to protect Shedeur and, really just build for the future. You can't, just bake overnight bake an offensive line out of the portal. You need to build. It takes some time, and, getting Seaton on board is really a huge step in the right direction for this program. Getting Seaton on board, they've moved up the team rankings right now, just 10 points or 10 spots over the span of 5 minutes. Really, it's impressive to see the impact that he's able to have on the rankings right now, but also what he's going to be able to do on the field there. Gorney, you touched on it. He's going to be able to step in and play almost right away.
Yeah, Deion, Deion is still going to go to the portal. I mean, that is his MO at Colorado. He is not really in the business of developing recruiting classes. He only has 10 commits with Seaton in it. But it's obviously a huge addition because Jordan Seaton dominated in his senior year, at tackle down at IMG Academy. So, it's definitely a big addition, but Deion is still going to go to the portal. You just don't know in today's recruiting world if a lot of those decommitments were parting of ways, that both sides said, no, this isn't going to work out, or if kids were like, I don't want to go to Colorado anymore. So I think Deion wants, he basically rebuilt the roster in 1 year by going to the portal. It won't be that extreme in year two, but he's definitely going to go to the portal for more players as well. Even with Seaton, they're still 55th in the country. So they do need a lot of help on the high school side, but there are going to be so many options in the portal if kids want to buy into that and go to Colorado. In terms of Seaton's game, yeah, absolutely. And I know it takes a while to develop into the college game, and it's going to take a while to get used to Big 12 defensive ends and those kinds of things. But Jordan Seaton walks in there ready to go compared to what they had on the field this past season. I think it was pretty clear. I mean, Shedeur Sanders, for about the last month of the season, could hardly walk off the field. He was getting hit so much. So, and like I said, they basically gave up trying to run the ball in certain games. So Seaton provides immediate help. He's already, 6'6", 285, 290, already, college ready body. and he's going to come in and provide immediate assistance to a Colorado offensive line that needs desperate help.
Absolutely. And to that point, news broke last night that Colorado is finally hiring an offensive line coach, and Phil Lodeholt, who is an assistant at Oklahoma. And, during the recruiting process, Seaton really liked Oklahoma. They didn't make the final group, but he really enjoyed his conversations with the coaching staff there. And I'm sure those were had with Coach Lodeholt while he was in Norman. And, now that he's going to be in Boulder, there's at least some relationship there. But the brand new offensive line coach is going to have a super talent to work with in Jordan Seaton. I wanted to quickly get back to the recruiting momentum that was really trending the other way for Colorado. They lost, if I'm counting this right, 5 commitments essentially in the last month of the recruiting cycle here. And, again, heading into the early signing period with some big name recruits still out there and some still maybe waffling on their commitment. Coach Prime has an opportunity to really bring in some big time players to help this Colorado team, not just in the future, but next year, right away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And, I think, if there is going to be a guy who surprises on signing day with someone, it could be him. He's done it now for 3 straight years. It's sort of becoming the norm closer to signing day. Maybe that has already happened with Jordan Seaton. But I want to point to what he's going to do in the transfer portal as well, because he needs immediate assistance there. As much as Travis Hunter is crucial to that team and is just a phenomenal football player. And Cormani late in the season sort of started to get it a little bit and saw the field more, and he will develop. Deion Sanders has basically said, if he listens to me, he'll develop because he has the talent. You win football games on the line of scrimmage, both offensive and defensive line. They were losing games this year because they couldn't move the ball on the ground. So, you look at that, it's not a shock that they went 3-0 to start the season. And then as injuries happened or as nagging injuries happened, they win one more game from September 23rd on. It's because they had no depth on the offensive line, and the offensive line they put together in the first month of the season was sort of piecemeal and just didn't come together. So Seaton is a big addition. You add him with some transfer guys that can kind of put together a more sturdy offensive line and add depth. If the right guard goes down, Colorado had no answer this past season. Now they will have that added depth. Put that around a bunch of playmakers with a healthy Shedeur Sanders, and 4-8 will be probably an afterthought for Colorado in year 2.
Yeah, and that's the goal for Coach Prime. There are a couple of high school recruits that Colorado fans need to get a little bit more familiar with now that Seaton has kind of changed the momentum for the Buffaloes. First is Boo Carter, the Tennessee commit. He and Seaton are very close. They talk very often. I wouldn't be surprised if Carter makes another trip to Colorado at some point. I don't think anything is planned at this point. Another receiver to keep an eye on, Draylon Miller. He was just up at Colorado. And then a former Colorado commit, 2025 5-star receiver, Winston Watkins. Now that he sees some more progress on really building a strong foundation for that offense, maybe he decides to jump back into the fold with Colorado.
Yeah, Boo Carter would be sort of an outlier. He's in the Tennessee area, commits to Tennessee, going to get him the ball, going to play defense, do the whole thing there. So that would be an interesting one to watch. But he has visited, and there has been interest there. The other two are actually pretty realistic. Draylon Miller had been committed to Texas A&M. The feeling was that he was going to flip immediately to LSU. That still hasn't happened, and he just took a visit to Colorado where he said felt like family out there. He loved it. He loved the feel of it and the opportunity. So I think that could be a situation if he doesn't really sort of fall in love with a new Texas A&M staff. They bring in Colin Klein as their offensive coordinator. We know that means they're probably going to run the ball pretty significantly. And then if he's not really drawn to LSU, if he was, he probably would have already committed. So I think Colorado is in the game there. Winston Watkins, definitely sort of a wild card. Every school in the country is now involved with him. He had over 2,000 all-purpose yards this past season. But really, the reason he decommitted from Colorado, he told me, was because he wasn't sure Deion Sanders would be there by the time he got there. Now, bringing Seaton in, those the rumors about him taking other jobs that opened in the SEC, that never really materialized. So Colorado is certainly still in the fold and very much in the picture for Watkins for numerous reasons, but also because he's known Deion pretty much his entire life, and they're from the same area. So that is going to have significant pull down the stretch. And, to be completely honest, Watkins is kind of the kid that might want to follow in those footsteps, get the attention, get all the social media stuff, and play for Deion Sanders down the road. So 3 very realistic possibilities. But I think Miller and Watkins are the 2 to really watch now.
Sure, absolutely. And we can end on this. There's one thing that I remember talking with Seaton about during his process, especially after his most recent visit to Colorado. It really made a connection with the coaches. He said, and I'm going to read this quote: "There aren't many mostly black coaching staffs out there. Just seeing somewhat familiar faces and people who look like me on the coaching staff is definitely rare. There are only a few black head coaches in college football, so it's definitely rare to see that." It clearly played a major role in his recruitment and in his commitment. We'll see if they're able to hold on to him down the stretch. I would imagine so, but certainly a big surprise as we headed into decision day, and now that we see his actual decision. 5-star Jordan Seaton now on board with the Colorado Buffs.